My name's Aaron. I'm an alcoholic. I'm not responsible for anything I say. You can blame it all on Chris K, who had me show up to speak. Sorry I showed up late. I looked at the clock and it was 6, and then at 7:02, my buddy Abe, who's here, texted me. He's like, "Yo, you coming?" So I sorry about that. Still have things to work on, especially with time. I won't blame that on alcoholism. I'll just blame that on my own shit. Just a little background. I've got 10 years of sobriety. I got sober November 14th, 2010, when I was 25. I am now 36. And I don't believe in God, and I don't have a higher power, but I work these steps, and I utilize the tools of a higher power. Now, if that confuses you, I'm sure you'll find out quick what I'm talking about. The topic today will be about third step, and which is great because I've been working with so many guys on the third step, and one woman who requested that I work with her because she's also an atheist. And what I have come to find is that I really, really love this program, and I really want to be sober, and more so than be sober or be abstinent, I want to learn how to live sober. That's the whole point of this whole thing, is living sober, not being abstinent, not giving something up. It's not supposed to be an ascetic lifestyle where I, am constantly, repentant for all of my sins. That's not what this is for. This is so that I can live my life to the best of my ability. And I can't do that alone. That's what I've discovered. When I rely on myself only my opinions, everything gets incredibly distorted. So let me talk to the newcomers before I get into all this philosophical AA doctorate shit. I drank like my dad drank to a degree. I feel like he was more successful because he drank his entire life. He was an alcoholic. I'm kidding about that. He died earlier this year because he refused to take medicine that would save his life because he couldn't drink on it. And here's the thing. I came to realize today that he didn't decide that. Alcoholism did. And that's really tough for me to swallow because I really want to blame him for making that decision. But he didn't. I can't blame somebody with tuberculosis or cancer for being sick. So I can't blame myself or any other alcoholic for the decisions that they make while they're under the influence of alcohol and they're sick in their disease. Being sober, I have a chance to be away from that, to not fall into those emotional and behavioral problems that I get into when I'm under the influence of alcohol and I'm tight with alcoholism. It's a huge realization for me. So anyways, I drank a lot. I actually got sober from 16 to 19. Not by my choice. I've never gotten sober by my choice. It's always been a power greater than myself, and usually that was the law. I got sent somewhere in Utah to some desert program and then came back and I was sober. I had not done a lot. I did use alcoholically, but I was also a kid. So I didn't have a lot of access. I took acid a couple of times, smoked pot a couple of times, and drank a couple of times. And I was sober. And I did a first step with somebody about 2 years in and realized I'm not an alcoholic, which really meant that I had not had enough experience. So I went back. And I don't like calling it out. It's a little weird to me going out. It's a little othering of people who are alcoholics. I just say I went back to drinking, and the first drink went fine, so I had another. and then a week later, I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm drinking warm Jim Beam with a warm orange soda chaser and drinking 4 Smirnoffs. And I was off to the races, puking in somebody's hotel bathroom. And then that's how it looked every single time I was drinking. It was just worse and worse and worse. I'm shitting on somebody's lawn or having sex with somebody I don't know, or on and on and on. And it continually got more and more demoralizing. That doesn't mean it wasn't fun. I had a shit ton of fun drinking, and it was good for a long time until it wasn't. They say it's fun with problems, and then problems. And right before I got sober, it had just turned into problems. And to come around to that last year, I woke up in cat shit on New Year's Eve, and that basically laid out what the rest of that year was going to be like in 2010. And I ended up losing my job because I wasn't showing up. And he told me that I could work from home. And then when the work dried up at home, he just kind of went, huh? And I didn't have a job anymore. So it was a soft layoff. And then, because I'm too difficult to deal with when I'm using alcohol, nobody wants to fucking talk to me. And I lost my place because I couldn't afford the rent, moved in with my mom. 8 days later, I was in jail for my second DUI. And I was in jail for 30 days in Orange County. And realized in that facility that it didn't feel that different than being outside. I was already in jail in my head. And so manifesting that with my physical body felt basically the same. I got out. I tried what I now call controlled drinking. I didn't know that's what that was called. I knew it was clearly an issue. And essentially I got drunk every 2 weeks. The final night that I got drunk, I said to myself, I wasn't going to get drunk. I wasn't going to touch anybody inappropriately, or at the very least, who didn't want me to touch them. I wasn't a creeper. I was just too familiar. And I wasn't going to say mean shit. Right? It was pretty normal, level human shit of, acting like a citizen. And I couldn't do any of that. And I went home. I had a new dangly earring I got off the internet, and I sent a selfie to this girl who later told me that was cringy as shit. She's now my wife. She's in the other room. She was in a relationship at the time, too. This is how much of a loser I am when I'm using. And I woke up the next day with the worst hangover I'd ever had. And then the following day was incredibly depressed, very unmotivated. And by the third day, I had all this anxiety, and I felt like I needed a drink, which is the first time that had actually happened to me. Or maybe the first time I had recognized it. And I called that same girl up, and I was like, I don't know what to do. And I had no idea that both of her parents were in AA and had been sober. And she's like, why don't you stop drinking for 2 weeks? And I was like, I'm going to impress this girl because she's hot. I'm going to do three months. She said 2 months. I said 3 months. So I went 3 months, no AA. And then I got to 3 months and I was like, well, I guess I'll keep going. I went a year without AA. And that was miserable as fuck. So now, anytime that I have any kind of dry, it's usually about a week. Because I can't stand it. I had about a year of that, and I was crazy. And sheriff came knocking on my mom's door, asking me where I was. She's a good Al-Anon, didn't tell them. And I started taking care of my DUI classes and going to AA meetings. And again, that same woman who's been such a bright light in my life, we were dating. And I said, nobody comes up to me and talks to me at these meetings. And she's like, maybe you should go more than once a month. It never occurred to me that people just didn't know who the fuck I was. And, and there's more and more of that unraveling throughout my life. It's where it's there's this really thin, clear piece of plastic over my eyes. And then I take that off and it's oh my God, that's been there the whole time. When I probably could have seen it. Here's the deal. I did not do a thorough enough third step. What I was capable of doing when I got my sponsor was just saying, I'm turning my will over to this program and believing that it works. That was the most I could do. I couldn't do anything beyond that. Because my sponsor was like, dude, I don't have time to argue with you about this. He's also an atheist. He's like, I don't have time to argue with it. You figure it out. And not to want to frustrate this person and, disappoint him, because I've mapped my dad onto other people. I was like, all right, I give up. Fine, I turn my will over. And I did a 4-step, and I sat on that 4-step for 2.5 years. It took me 2.5 years and 3 hours to finish it. It's I had done it in probably 3 hours and then sat on it for another 6 months because of fear, just utter fear. My life was controlled by fear. And it was over and over and over again. It's because I wasn't willing to turn my will over. But for whatever reason, I was able to turn it over in really small chunks. And exponentially, that has gotten easier. And as a result, I'm turning my will over more and more. The pandemic hit last year. I don't know if any of you guys know about this, but coronavirus is a thing. And And all of a sudden, I found myself jobless and scared again. And I started praying regularly for the first time in my life, because I was like in a place of like, fuck it. The first time I prayed was in a jail cell. They arrested me. Now here's where not turning my will over and not relying on other people gets my ass in trouble. Again, I had not taken care of my DUI shit, and I was like, I'm going to go take care of it. I'm going to go down to Orange County, and the judge will understand. Is that 5 minutes? Great. The judge will understand. I go, and the judge is like, yeah, you're going to go to jail for 15 days. I was like, what? He's like, what'd you expect? I'll say this. He later got, like, disbarred because he was doing some underhanded shit. He got what he deserved later. But anyways, he said I was in for 15 days, and I didn't know what to do. I called my sponsor and my mom, and both of them were like, why didn't you talk to us before you went to this fucking court? And they locked me up. I was in a giant tank with one other dude, and I was stretching, trying to like relieve some stress. And I realized, like, I'm going to hit my knees. I don't know what else to do. And I hit my knees, and I said, to nothing. I said, I don't know. That's all I said. I don't know. And I called my mom, and she bailed me out. Now, here's the thing. She might have still done that, and I might have still called her, but I'm not terribly sure. I might have also done the self-victimization thing that I've been doing for years and said, I deserve this. I'm going to sit in jail for 15 days and not tell anybody because I'm super ashamed. But I got the courage to call somebody and the willingness to ask for help. And that has been my story over and over and over again, which is why I'm sober today. I'm sober because I keep taking these actions that are incredibly uncomfortable. I've been saying this over and over again. I can sit doing the same thing and be uncomfortable, or I can do something new and be uncomfortable. Either way, I don't get to be comfortable. I asked my friend today, when does the unveiling stop and I can like finally just settle into like knowing everything? She's like, it doesn't. And that's why we got to take breaks in between. We got to take breaks in between this work because it's really heavy work. So a little on how I do this third step thing. I look at it in a multitude of ways. A lot of people call it God. I realize you can add an O to that and call it good. It can be a group of drunks. It doesn't matter. Where I'm at with this today is that I'm not God. And when I only rely on self-will, which in the big book, it talks about self-will being a good thing, unless it's not aligned with your higher power, because it can then block you from God. If I have my will aligned with the power greater than myself, then I can live life a little bit more freely. It's like being in a river, and for years and years and years, I sat there trying to hold the stream back, and I finally turned around and let the river carry me, and suddenly I have all this control and freedom, and really it is, I'm just not fighting shit anymore. And I have a spiritual practice where I ask for things that I need, really, which is what I'm just aligning myself with a higher form of self or a group or, I like to call it a situational higher power sometimes, where it's like the situation is a power greater than myself. I believe I should be able to change whatever's going on around me in the world around me. And when I align myself with what's going on, then that is my higher power. My marriage, for a lot of you guys who are married, my marriage is my higher power a lot of the time. Not my wife, that's very different. My marriage, which is richer than the two of us could ever be. And I have to try and figure out, how do I get into the same vibration as that? And it doesn't, I've come to figure out that like language is really, really crude, and none of us really know how to, what does that say? 52? Or 2 minutes, 2 minutes. Okay, it's a backwards 2. Sorry guys. Language is really crude, and, I could do my best to describe like a song that I really want you to know about, right? I can tell you about every instrument. I can tell you how it was recorded. I can tell you the length and all of the different notes and timbres and everything else that's used in that. and you will never have experienced that song. And it's the same with spirituality. I can gab at you all day about this shit. I can tell you this and that. I can give you all the arguments for and against whatever it might be. And I can use all the different names and words. But at the end of the day, you're never going to experience that thing. And that's what that came down to for me, is that I want an experience that is different than what I'm experiencing right now. And it requires me to have a connection with myself and a power greater than myself. And a lot of the time, that power greater than myself is my own gut, which I don't listen to, right? It's not about listening, it's about obeying it. And a lot of people call it God, again, like I'm saying. It's the same fucking thing. I've got to obey it. I can listen and, listen and go, yeah, thanks for the information. I've done that to lots of people. But I got to put myself in a humble, willing position to ask for help. And that's what I do every day. Doesn't matter what I think I'm talking to. I read Encourage to Change from Al-Anon that, prayer is just a conversation with yourself to get you in line with God. Well, I can get on board with that. I talk to myself all day long. So maybe if I talk to myself in a way that's like, ask for the courage, willingness, strength, and wisdom to believe that others have my best interests in mind. I go through life thinking the world's out to get me and everyone wants to attack me. And I'll tell you this, about 80% of people don't want you to die. 20% of people probably don't give a shit or do. I'll give it that. The world can be kind of shit sometimes. But 80% don't, right? You ever see somebody who falls in front of you and they eat shit? Now, some of us will laugh, and I've done that too, but a lot of the time we ask them if they're okay and offer them a hand to get up. Most people will do that. Most people want you to feel good and for you to be housed and for your family to be housed and for you to be loved and have food and water. On a personal level, that's what they want for you. And so I say these prayers. I'm really a big fan of prayers that are really customized, I like to say. And if you want to learn how to do that, check out page 552 about the resentment prayer. You pray for somebody for 2 weeks. And I'll end with this. That prayer really, really helped me out. There was a dude across the street who was a big asshole, and he still is. And I looked out every day like, fuck that guy, right? And I noticed this energy was being pushed towards that guy, and it was just wasted. And I decided to do this resentment prayer. And so you started off and you pray for the person specifically. It turns out I didn't know his name. I'm investing all this energy in somebody whose name I don't even know. And then I grit my teeth through it, about giving them what I want and need. And I had to figure out what I wanted and what I needed. A lot of the time I don't even know. I just want. Just give it to me. I need this, I had to figure out what I truly wanted and needed. What I truly want and need is to be loved and to be valued and to be able to be vulnerable with other people and open with other people and have a connection. I got drunk and fucked up because I wanted a connection. I knew that if you were fucked up, we were at least on the same page. And now I know, doing this program, learning through the language of love, how to connect with other people. Hearing myself say this shit 10 years ago, I'd have been like, this dude is a kook, and he's into a bunch of woo-woo shit. And I'll say this, I don't care what that guy thinks, because he was in a lot of pain and really confused about himself. And today, I don't know a whole lot, but I'm less confused, and I'm in a lot less pain. Thanks for my time.